Welcome to our series of Healthcare Scene Google Plus Hangouts, where we sit down with top leaders in healthcare IT. My name is John Lynn. I'm the founder of HealthcareScene.com, the leading network of 15 healthcare IT blogs, including EMR and HIPAA.com and EMR and EHR.com, along with the top healthcare IT career website at healthcareitcentral.com. Thanks for joining us. Before we begin, I want to remind those watching live that you can submit any questions that you have for us on the Google Plus event page, and we'll work to incorporate those questions into the Hangout if we have time. I'm pleased today to have Vishal Gandhi here. He's the founder and CEO of Credentialing Spectrum, leaders in hybrid workflow solutions consisting of both an innovative software suite and back office operations. His specialties include hybrid workflow for cost reduction, revenue cycle management, and back office services for practice management. On a personal note, Credentialing Spectrum has been a longtime supporter of Healthcare Scene, contributing a series of sponsored blog posts on EMR and HIPAA.com. And yeah, they cover how to improve the medical practices in that series. It's been great to having him here, and I'm really pleased to have Vishal here with me today. Welcome, Vishal.
Hi, John. Thank you very much for an opportunity, for this hangout with a special person that I have in the healthcare IT field. Thank you very much, John, for covering me for this.
You are special. I agree with you there. So let's get right to it. HIMSS is right around the corner, and I know I'm deep in the HIMSS prep. I imagine you are too. HIMSS 2015, and as I look at it, before when I would go to HIMSS, I would have like mostly meetings with EHR companies and maybe a potpourri of other companies mixed in there doing other services. And this year I'm personally working on a trend where I'm like more interested in the non-EHR technologies than I am the EHR technologies, but I'll probably do a couple of EHR meetings as well. So, with that in mind, I'd love to hear, because I know you're working on a lot of stuff non-EHR related, what do you see as the biggest challenges that are facing a clinical office today that you're working to solve?
The buzzword today is a workflow, right? When we talk about integrated delivery, where multiple healthcare entities join hands and take care of the patients clinically to make sure the patients, overall life is much better and improved. You're talking about hospitals, you're talking about nursing homes, you're talking about physician practices, and several individually they itself are a complex setup. Now putting 10 complex setups together into a one integrated network, what is the key element is beyond clinical and the practice management is workflow. What we specialize in several areas of workflow management, connecting this right from patient walks in the office, then translates to one of the individual complex setup, from there to another setup, or goes up to the billing level, and beyond billing is an engagement for financial and clinical reasons. We have a product or tools that automates and binds all this different setup through various workflows into one common thread. So some of our technology products do that. And the second, the element, we are in order for everyone to improve workflow efficiency, either you have increased the productivity of your existing team, or you add an additional resources which doesn't hurt your pockets that much. So with the combination of technology and the local team in those integrated delivery network and our back office team, we create a hybrid workflow model, which is a trademark for Credentialing Spectrum now. We have done it numerous clinics and the hospitals. With this hybrid workflow model, we are able to reduce operational costs up to 30% and increase the efficiency with overall delivery of the workflow what we desire to. And it is consistent, it is accurate, and it's cost effective.
We've talked about your hybrid workflow model before, and I'm sure we'll dive into that a lot more in this hangout. But what's interesting to me is that for so long we've focused on meaningful use, which is a government mandate, which is mostly clinical focused as opposed to business focused. And I mean, most doctors would say it's probably not even very good clinically, but definitely I think most of them see it as somewhat damaging to the business of their practice. So it sounds like you're focused on what are the business benefits that we can provide a clinic. Does that sound right?
Yeah, absolutely. See, what happens is, as the clinical integration and clinical delivery, became, important through the meaningful use and all of those, the two changes, the massive changes that hit the pockets. One is, the high deductibles through Obamacare, right? So basically, you have now 5 patients or 3 patients walking out of 10 that potentially has a deductible that is not going to get paid right away to you or not going to be paid by insurance. Requires some kind of planning. The second is the reimbursement as years passes are going down and down. Now we talk about value-based, payment system. So that puts an additional burden on the practice, administrative and clinically, to perform to get the same money they were getting before. So on one side, see, when you talk about, or most of the time, the workflow concepts come into picture when your cash flow is limited. So the healthcare, as it is transitioning towards, integrated care and more about, value-based proposition, at the same time, there is no money in the business, or the money is reducing, I would say, and hence it's the only time that you can focus on the workflow and the cost. So while you continue to deliver a quality care and involve the patient, in order for your integral care, you also want to involve your business administrators and your rest of the team to focus on the efficiencies and the cost reduction. That's the only way you can survive and have the balance. So what we focus is in a second part. How do we improve? There are 5 ways to do a thing. Is there a way that is the most optimized? Is there a way that's the most cost effective? Or is there a way that is replicable over a period of years and months? So our objective is set up a workflow which is replicable and cost effective, and it can, there is nothing beyond, or there is nothing, no other improvement beyond that. And the only way to do that is involve automation, because that's the one way you can, get the efficiency and consistency. And the second is all automation cannot lead the final outcome. So wherever needed, you add a human touch to that.
Hmm.
So all our products
are some of those. Let's dig into some specific examples. I mean, you mentioned the increase in high deductible plans,
right.
And that patients are changing insurance providers thanks to the insurance exchanges, thanks to their employers shutting down their insurance, all of these methods, right? I mean, I think it's been well documented that there's more high deductible plans and that they're switching insurance. Right. So how do you solve this problem for a clinic that is dealing with now more patient payment and all these changes to insurance?
So the one thing is most of the EHR and practice management system has, they call it, like eligibility verification online, or B2B they call it, right? Now, it's great feature, right? Maybe 70% of your problems can be resolved because you can see a patient has, this kind of deductible, this kind of copays. And based on that, there are several products out there that integrate, and estimate that this is potential a payment for that particular patient. So like simple function like an office visit is no challenge. It can be easily tackled. The issues happen when you are leading into a more complex situation. Patient is walking in, and probably patient has some kind of outpatient procedure in your office. Patient is walking in, his patient has a potential therapy and an outpatient procedure along with the visit. So when you add those dynamics to take care of the patient better, there is a world of unknown arise. And the only way to know that unknown is by making a phone call to insurance company. So what we do is our eligibility or workflow spectrum product integrates with an EHR and takes over only those eligibilities that cannot be supported by online or B2B. So we take those, it plugs in only those or carves out the certain payers or certain kind of procedures or certain kind of visit types, and actually our team behind the scene from our back office operation spends 40-50 minutes on a call with an insurance company, finds the details, and obviously our product again integrates back to the EHR. So the idea is that those gap of unknowns can be bridged with another product and the human interface. So when a patient walks in, irrespective of patient is coming as a new patient or a wellness or a recall or a therapy or a procedure, you are actually mix and matching the areas of unknown and eliminating that with the use of product and technology.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, just playing devil's advocate, I know a lot of practices call the insurance company, all day, every day, some of them. So why wouldn't they just do it themselves? Why would they want to outsource it?
Again, coming back to our original question, workflow should also lead into cost effectiveness along with consistency and efficiency, right? Now, if you have a local team members, one of your staff at $20 an hour making a phone call and spending 30 minutes on a call versus our back office team making the same call at between $6.50 to $9.50 an hour. So you have a same output but at a lower cost that will help you in overall planning. I'm not trying to say, okay, you're gonna make zillion trillion extra profit because of that, but that small thing help you to plan your workflow better. Maybe use the same money somewhere else. Use your current team members for maybe more towards clinical recalls, rather than wasting time with insurance company for 40 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I mean that $8 versus $20 an hour adds up for a small practice.
Right. Absolutely.
Let alone, well, we haven't even talked about staff turnover, I guess, which
Right, right,
they leave to you, not them.
right,
So,
exactly.
another challenge I've seen, I mean, to me, it's like, can we finally get electronic payment processing in every clinic? I mean, like, why are we still, sending out bills and paying bills by snail mail? What's your thoughts on that? And how do we solve that problem? Or is it a problem needed to be solved? Maybe paper's fine.
I think one has to use a discretion, because there are, like, or for example, like, as of today, if I were to get an email about an invoice, so if in order for me to process that invoice, either I have to print it out or I have to click on a link and make the payment, correct? So I think what is happening is based on the individual preference and the age group is how this should be determined. Why the paper invoices or paper statement is still has an efficiency is because there are certain population base which does not like to be electronic, or they hate the phone, like maybe above 45 or 50, or probably a busy executive who is constantly on the phone, does not want an extra thing, or you are so busy that somebody else writing your checks. So in
Mhm.
this multiple situation is where one has to go more individualized and ask a simple question to the patient. How would you like your statements to go? Would you like electronic? Would you be pushed to the patient portal, or would you like us to send a mail?
Mhm.
And based on the preference, if you really a system can carve out the rules and push those statements that wants electronic, just like a bank give you a choice. Everyone knows they go online banking, but why bank still gives you a choice that do you want a paper statement or do you want to go green,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
All of us,
they're pushing the green, that's for
yeah,
sure.
it's a choice. At the end of the day, technology should give a control to the user. Technology, as much as makes your life easier, at the end of the day, the workflow starts from the end user, right? So in case of patient balances, the end user as a patient, his convenience is what drives the workflow. If you force everyone, so I think the way it is that in the today's time when the statements and balance and deductible has become a reality, there are two situations. One situation is our individuals, very good. They know their numbers and pay the balance on a timely manner. And there are those individuals who need a constant reminder. So based on those individuals, if you really create a stratification of the people based on the trend analysis and really people who needs to follow, it's not that they don't want to pay. It's just a gentle reminder. So our AutoCollect Spectrum is a kind of a product which is more like a soft reminder, automated calls, text messaging, or kind of email notification. It really plugs into the practice management and helps practice to separate those one that gonna traditionally pay either through e-statement or through the portal or through like a patient statement. And there are some that they would not pay by just having a one statement or a one email or a one kind of reminders that
Mhm.
needs kind of carved out and say have a separate follow through. It could be multiple reminders, probably send an email, text, and a statement, or send an email, text, and a patient portal notification. If they are using some kind of smartphone apps for engagement with the clinic, maybe even put a push notification to the smartphone app of patient portal. So
Hmm.
those kind of combination is the only solution, because you have all these tools, but if you don't use it, based on the end user's responses, it's not going to help us.
Hmm. But unfortunately, they've been too busy checking boxes for meaningful use to really make. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not even that sophisticated to think, oh, let me ask them, do you want a paper statement or an electronic one?
So I think
Should
it's all
I?
about, I think that's another thing, right? If most of the clinics that I work with, I mean, on a national level, I tell them to separate out the clinical team and a financial team. Don't mix like two people at the same time. So let the front desk practically only do one thing: collect the copays, or collect, right. Let not front desk bombard with the balances and other stuff. The moment front desk sees a balance, if you set up a workflow that there is a separate patient counselor that sits down with the patient and walks them through the, well, listen, you have a 5,000 deductible, you are here for potential this care, and based on the traditional payment history, you probably will end up generating 140 deductible, or from the past balances, you have a co-insurance open for 200. So let that discussion happen beyond front desk.
Hmm.
That structure works. But if you try to have a front desk, ask them like a meaningful use question, like, do you have a race, ethnicity, language? On the top of it, put them a balance or put them few other responsibility. It is not going to work because in between phone calls and checking in a patient, their job should only be making sure that the identity verification has happened, insurance card is correctly taken, and the copay and other immediately visible, the information is correctly taken.
Interesting.
At times front desk, yeah, at times front desk end up taking a lot of not asking the right question for the demographic that could result into potential issues. So those things should be structured properly.
Interesting. Yeah, and no doubt this has an impact on, especially as you get more and more patient pay, your
Right,
AR matters a lot more because if you don't have the cash from those patients, then the cash flow issues start to come.
right, absolutely.
What other technology? I mean, with this idea of what other non-EHR problems are you working to solve? That really we've have kind of gone unnoticed.
So
What are
as
some?
I said, mentioned, if you take the like, let's talk about EHR and practice management as a core IT, right? That's a basic of IT. So you have one side an EHR and a practice management software, another side you have a patient portal. So these three are most of the clinics has it nowadays, almost 70-80%. Now start with the patient walking in. So you have front desk, issues that we talked about through the workflow spectrum, trying to do that extra thing that these technologies can do to make sure that every patient that's walking in, exactly what his responsibilities are, what are his benefits, and what things are covered and what are not covered. That
Hmm.
gives you a proper care plan when you are talking about integrated care, because you potentially could have the same patient go through a therapy or counseling or some kind of chronic care management programs or many other incentive programs of insurances. So those known factors is one area. Then patient walks in and you goes into like beyond the front desk, and he walks in into a clinical side. At the clinical side, what is essential in a patient engagement part is beyond a patient portal, there are many other areas, which is such as, do you have a good wellness management? Do you have a good preventive management built into that? Imagine if I have a patient and if I have a pop-up on my patient portal app on the smartphone that, listen, you're due for your annual well visit now, or you are due, for your blood work 90 days.
Uh-huh.
Those kind of, so if you make you should have a feature of making an individualized care plan or a based on a population some kind of care plan that pushes the reminder and let patient invoke their responses through their notification rather than sitting in the patient portal inbox.
Hmm.
So our My Personal Chart is another product which is a complete patient engagement tool which allows you to do a chronic care management, personalized care plan management, and actually pushes a good smartphone apps notification telling patient that, listen, you're due for your blood work, you're due for your annual well visit, maybe it's time for you to come back for your repeat endoscopy, colonoscopy, or echocardiograms. And most of the,
Are you doing this? I mean, obviously, meaningful use requires some patient engagement through a portal. ACOs are going to likely need some of this messaging. Value-based care is going to need it. I mean, is that why you're doing it, or is this really just about revenue? I mean, or maybe both, I guess.
yeah, it's both ways, right? Idea is that at the end of the day, the healthcare has a two focus. One is patient care, which is a crucial. Everything we do has to be driven by patient care. If you things that you do if doesn't help the patient has no meaning. So,
Hmm.
and the second is a diagnostic side to make sure the physician is not missing a gap in care. And that diagnostic part obviously also has a relevance with the revenue side. What I've seen, or what we have seen, there are a lot of patient portal and patient engagement platforms available, but there are many, there are smaller, it strictly does on a meaningful side. That means there is a notification, patient can view certain stuff, but it has not got, like, now there is a chronic care management which requires a lot of the care plan oversight and a lot of things, and many of the EHR and patient portals don't have that built in.
Hmm.
So what we did was we created a patient. My Personal Chart is like an open kind of architecture patient engagement where you can create an alert, you can create a milestone for the patient. You can say our patient. So tomorrow, if patient has, you guys give a target, or somebody gives a target that you need to walk 10,000 steps a day, you practically can integrate that into My Personal Chart to see whether he's meeting that milestone,
Hmm.
right?
And
So
meaningful patient engagement.
exactly. So it is more about, almost like a personalized care plan management, practically, built into that. It can plug into any EHR, it can plug into any patient portal that we have. So with the message spectrum as a product, which is on the messaging side and notification side, and my personal chart, which is a complete cloud-based patient engagement, it has a very nice API connectivity that can be utilized by pretty much anyone for connecting to their existing. So again, talks about the gap in the workflow. You have EHR, you have patient portal. What are the elements that potentially might not exist? Yes, there are many other larger companies have that all nailed down. We are not talking about that, but we have 400 some products, right? And there are many other products that has yet to go in that direction, as the development cost is pretty huge and their potential user base may not be as high as possible. So
Yeah,
this
well,
plugins will help them to deliver the end outcome, which is wellness management and a better revenue for the practice.
yeah. No, I mean, I've been waiting for EHR vendors to open up and allow outside plugins forever. So,
Right.
hopefully. Let's talk about some of your other. I mean, I know I've read some stuff about your credentialing spectrum and your productivity spectrum, which I think are fascinating because they use technology to improve a clinic and have almost nothing to do with an EHR. I mean, so
Yeah, no, no,
tell
absolutely.
us about this.
As again coming back to taking the spectrum, we started from eligibility side, we went to clinical side. Now if you look at a big hospital, correct? Big
Hmm.
hospital has a lot of IT infrastructure, correct? A large healthcare entity is IT infrastructure. Exactly. So now imagine you're an employee and your mouse is not working, your keyboard is not working, or some kind of. So now what we created is a support spectrum as a product, which actually helps an IT infrastructure to manage their entire resources. You could actually click off a button, log into any computer, completely safe and secure, encrypted, or you can have a ticket or issues, that can be registered. So if you
Hmm.
register that my laptop screen has a white line, and then you have like IT guys not fixing it for 10 days, you can hold them accountable. Plus, you can have a data that, okay, how many IT issues do I resolve, have it on a monthly basis? Do I need a full-time staff for that, or can I outsource it? What is my cost of? So as the more and more devices, we're gonna have wearables, we're gonna have mobile, smartphones, more and more IT, devices add on to the care. The management of that on the hardware and software has become an issue. So we flagged off a support spectrum as an awesome product to do all that.
Interesting.
Second comes, you go further and say, okay, you know what? Now you can reach the billing department, right? What are the challenges nowadays billing department has? One of the crucial challenges as they merge their operation, they hire new physician is an enrollment. You don't get paid no matter you can go up and down and go take a moonwalk, but you're not going to get paid if you are not contracted with an insurance, and the insurance plan clearly says there is no out of network benefit. So the
Hmm.
credentialing becomes a big thing. Now what happened is there are a lot of credentialing solutions out there, no doubts about it. But again, coming back to cost effectiveness and efficiency, focusing on that, a solution are priced for where even a solo practitioner can use it, to 500 physician hospital system can use it, to 1,000 physicians can use it. So it has an amazing.
Why would they use it rather than say? I mean, I think the alternative for many small practices is Excel or something along those lines, a spreadsheet saying this is when we need to credential. Well, what makes yours different than just tracking it themselves?
I think as a part of the reason is again tracking, right? Like for example, if you put a spreadsheet is not going to tell you that somebody's DEA is due tomorrow, or somebody's malpractice is expiring. So the idea is that, or your insurance plan has a requirement that once in 2 years credentialing. Like I have a one physician who lost his entire contract because at his home he got a recredentialing application that he misplaced it, and there was no one to follow through, and he's going to lose 8 months worth of claim, which is costing $50,000. Now we have a lot of loose ends still. It's not
Yeah.
that insurance company is going to call you and tell you, listen guys, your credentialing is due, can you give me your data? They're going to send you a letter, you don't respond to it in 45 days, you're done.
Yeah.
So the idea is that you need to get your hands together into some kind of reminder system. So credentialing spectrum has a milestone management, application management, documents management, and it becomes a seamless, again, finally connectivity, right? You have a billing department centralized. You could have a billing department sitting in a different physical location. Your provider could be doing home services, nursing home care. In normal complex healthcare, your provider is mobile and your staff is stationary. How do you connect them?
Yeah.
So that's where the credentialing spectrum connects them. You can have a smartphone apps, you can connect through, upload his document. He could have his CAQH password reset request that he might call and tell guys, listen, I've done that. Or he could upload his CV, or he can upload his new CMEs right onto the portal. So
Right.
idea is that is building that connectivity so that your biggest challenge, and as of now, if you see the industry, there is a huge denial that comes because of enrollment issues. So
Hmm.
credentialing spectrum helps them. Again, coming back to our hybrid workflow model, how do we make it different? You have a staff that submitted application that needs a lot of clerical efforts of following with the insurance company because they sit on there for 90 days. Well, that's where our back office team helps in follow. So once again, using the local credentialing department, our software and our back office team, we solve that problem that let them use a knowledge item. Knowledge item is application submission. And the chasing part, let us do it. That's a choice, right?
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's how we kind of resolve like a hybrid workflow model and credentialing activity. Now you go further in the billing department, credentialing is one thing, but overall, we are talking about people. So the technology has no meaning without people, correct? So one of the crucial
Productive.
elements, yeah, exactly. That's where I'm coming to now. So yes, people is pretty crucial part of the healthcare delivery network. Now, people, when the money is tight, what do? You want to accommodate more work from the same people, correct? That's the only way. Yeah, because now suppose your income has dropped for any reasons, right? Either your cost went up or your income went down. Somewhere your bottom line has been affected. So either you grow new business or try to get. That's why do you think all these mergers happening or acquisitions happening? That
Yeah.
the companies that are looking into expanding horizontal or vertically so that they have a same clientele can give more business to them. Acquiring a new business is a one strategy, or expanding within the same business your services is a second strategy for growth.
Interesting.
So it applies at the healthcare level as well. It applies at the physician level, hospital level, and otherwise. And hence, you are adding more people and making the people productive is what productivity spectrum does. Now, how do you make them productive? We don't want to be like a policeman, be after their life. We want to make them self-accountable. Self-accountability is that, for example, my productivity is to appear for 10 times a day interview with great guys like you. That could be my benchmark, right?
Sure.
Now, if I did a 4 interviews only, I am short of 6, right? So
Uh-huh.
the idea is that your best days are picked up by our productivity spectrum as a benchmark, and it actually creates a complete comparison chart on a daily basis, weekly basis, and a monthly basis. That listen, guys, based on your best days, today you did like 70% efficiency. You are at 60% efficiency. Almost like your the variables tells you, listen, you set a target that 10,000 steps, you are at 60%. Your sleep is at 60%. What is that? It is all about self accountability. Yes.
Well,
So
and I guess that's my question. I mean, I think it's great that you're putting some accountability into the billing process and the billing people. What's their reaction though? Is there a lot of kickback? Like you're just trying to nickel and dime me, or what's your reaction to people using this?
I think it's like obviously a futuristic cultural change, right? Now you are not being monitored. Now you are being monitored, correct?
Right.
So
It's a
obviously
massive.
acceptance is going to be a problem, but that's how you do a stage manner. You identify the areas where you have a backlogs and you first implement there, right? So suppose you have a 10 things to do and all 10s are getting done on a daily basis. Don't bother them. Let them continue because somehow they are already working at the efficiency level you expect. Now you have 20 things, and only 5 of them are finished. You put them into perspective, right? So that self accountability should jump up that 5 to at least 8 or 9. So it gives you a clear idea of manpower planning. That do you really need people?
Uh-huh.
Otherwise, the departments in a larger organization will keep saying that, listen, well, we are backed up and we don't have time, and all that will continue to happen.
They're just making an educated guess to
Exactly.
see, do we
Yeah.
need it? Everyone always needs more people, right? I know
Yeah,
I
so I
do.
think the way healthcare is evolving, it is getting, as more technology are getting into it, there are more people also getting into it for the same amount of work we are doing. So now you have on one side a challenge of managing people, and other side you have a challenge of managing technology, and other side you have a challenge of managing financial of the overall system, and third side is the patient engagement and the patient clinical care. So what I find that people management or people motivation is going to be a very crucial in next 10 years or 5 years in healthcare delivery. Why? Because as of now, you ask me, one of the nurses join an hospital. Do they have a career plan? Does hospital have any career plan for them other than a good package and the benefits? What else, there is planned out for?
Yeah, I don't think they have a great
Yeah,
career
but
plan.
at the same time, you join an Apple or you join, for that matter, Walmart, right? As a manager, you have a career plan. You become an assistant, then you become manager, you become this, that. There is some kind of structure and hierarchies, right? Which
Uh-huh.
I find that is a flat, or healthcare in general, find a lot of flatness. There is not defined hierarchies and individual goal settings. So if I'm a very bright individual, I need to get incentivized, to be part of the healthcare system. So our HRM spectrum, which is going to be launched in the HIMSS show, it focuses on that. It actually gives you right from recruitment of an individual. So if I have a 10 people that I need in my healthcare, I can automate my recruitment process. It allows you to create like a virtual interviews, virtual video conferencing, and you can screen them a right candidate before you bring them to your office.
Hmm.
And that all happens, through the templates and the structures that you create.
So we have breaking news then. At HIMSS, Clinic Spectrum's coming out with HR Spectrum. Is that right? So,
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah,
so is
that
that just for small practices? Is that for hospitals?
is for everything. It is meant for pretty much. I mean, obviously, small practice don't have a major, a human resource management challenge because they don't have a goals and the planning.
Uh-huh.
Whereas it is definitely meant for a larger healthcare clients, which has 100+ employees, where each employee has expectation. It could be a healthcare IT company where there is a marketer who joins and wants to rise up certain level. So you can actually set up a milestone, and I could join your company, healthcare scene, and I say, hey, you guys start a business. I said, I will join. I want to start here. Financially, in 5 years, I want to be here, and in designation responsibility, I want to be there. You set up the goal, and the HRM spectrum help them right from recruitment to goal setting to measuring the goal where you are 3 years down the road.
Hmm.
So it is
So it
literally
gives you a
managing,
career path.
yes, and integrated with the productivity spectrum, you can manage an employee right from recruitment until the time they are in the organization with consistency. Make sure they are productive, making sure they're self-benchmarking, making sure that they are kind of. So, for example, I assume that I will join this company and I should be vice president in 5 years, and I should have a quarter million salary. But in 5 years, my performance, I'm always below performance. My benchmarking is pathetic. I've never produced any outcome. So how do I expect that? So it
Hmm.
actually kind of gives them a realistic expectation and puts them in a self, questioning. That, listen, I need to perform more. I need to come out with innovative ways.
Interesting.
So the way I consider the money should find its own way, right? Money should find more money. So making an individual, right, accountable. When I join you, I give you my plan. This is what I assume. Then if you don't tell me where I'm wrong, or you don't tell me that, okay, you're not doing this, how would I know? I expect my 5 years down the road that I should be here, and I'm not there. I'm gonna exit it. So now you spend 2 years trying to build a resource, knowing your system and process, and that guy is gone third year.
Right, because they don't have a plan of where they're going.
Exactly.
And accountability that you'll actually reward them. I think that's a lot of people's fear.
Right. So HRM Spectrum is what being launched, and in integration with our productivity spectrum should resolve pretty much human resource management, recruitment to productivity to growth, part of the challenge in healthcare pretty nicely.
Interesting. All right, well, I mean, we're up against the clock, but real quick, I know you're going to be at HIMSS 2015 in Chicago. So where can people find you at HIMSS, and what can they expect if they stop by your booth? I mean, obviously they can talk about all of these different projects: credentialing, HR, productivity, messaging, secure messaging. But what do you have planned for HIMSS?
We are exhibiting at HIMSS, and we would be obviously, pretty active on a tweet. People can tweet us at Clinic Spectrum if they want to, network and meet with us. We are always going to be in the booth. Actually, most welcome. Go to clinicspectrum.com. We are not only at HIMSS, but we are most of the national shows. We are always present, whether it's MGMA, MedTrade, or HFMA. We are always there. Most welcome to network for those guys, who are not at HIMSS, and otherwise send tweet at Clinic Spectrum, and we'll be more than happy to set up a time.
Sure. And it looks like you're at booth 5427.
That's
So
correct. That's absolutely correct.
are you doing jewelry and balloons again, or are you doing
Yeah,
something?
that should be there should be something secret, right? What we do there.
Oh,
You
that's a
know,
practice.
yeah. What's the excitement if I tell you right now, John? So I'll leave it to the show time only.
Yeah, well, I know that in the past I've seen your booths. I love the jewelry. I think that's unique. I love the balloons.
Yeah.
So, I know you have a high bar set for yourself to do
Yeah, I mean,
something.
colors is, the way I look at it is, colors is all we, kind of talk about, right? Our workflow colors, so ideally, yes, our view would be still colorful. The colors has, some twisted aspects, yes. So we'll do something to make people have fun, because we are there for 3, 4 days, a lot of sessions, a lot of stuff. So, I want people, whether they want my business or some of the things we do, whether they appreciate or not, we want them to smile when they come to us.
Sure. Well, yeah, they can just look for the awesome suit coats with lots of colors, and I think they'll find you, right?
That's correct.
Thanks so much for being here, Vishal. We'll have you on again.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot, John, for another session with you. It is always pleasure to talk to you. You come out with crazy questions that somebody's brain at a high efficiency. If you keep doing this kind of interviews for people, their efficiency level should go up 200%. Especially the mental efficiencies. So I
Yeah,
appreciate your knowledge and your immediate candid questions. So excellent.
thanks. Thanks so much for the discussion.
Thank you so much, John. Thank you. Bye.